Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Freed on Business. We've got a great show for you today. It's going to be all about blockchain. We're going to have Frank Walczak, I'm sure I butchered that like usual, and his team on, Cliff Lipscomb, and a whole bunch of other folks joining us today talking blockchain and real estate. So stick with us. It's going to be informative and exciting and tremendous. Mr. Mendoza, let's get started with you, and then we'll be back with more blockchain and real estate. I just love those videos that you put in there, Mr. Mendoza. We have to start putting in arrows onto all the deals that I've done. There's so many of them in those little videos that you do. Well, hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me. And remember, our sponsors at Warren Henry are starting a new year, and I'd like to thank Warren. I'd like to thank Larry, Samantha, Eric, all the team at Warren Henry that keep us going and been our sponsor now since 2013, and we want to thank them for allowing us to bring all this great information to everybody. When you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar up at 151st and Biscayne in their tremendously beautiful store. Tremendous is the word of the day. Down in the Keys, they sell all their name brands. I'm probably going to go down there and get a Jeep this summer. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audis. I'd have to balance off that Jeep with one of those big fancy Audi sports cars. What all those cars have in common? Well, they're all great cars, and they come with Warren Henry Vantage. That's a long list of great services that you get. It includes, like, they'll replace your key fob. You lose the key fob. That's like $100 right there. It's my Warren Henry key fob. If you scratch up your rims, like parking too close to the curb, I do that all the time. They'll polish them up. Oh, yeah. Want to make sure you're getting the best price for your trade-in? You will. They'll guarantee it. And if you don't like your car, you get 3 days to return it. Guess what? Nobody returns their car. They love those cars. So join me, my mom, my beautiful wife, Vivian. I love that woman. And, of course, lots and lots of my friends. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be, too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry.
It's time to stop the hate and spread some love. You are beautiful, you're smart, you are awesome, and you never have to change for anybody. You have the voice and you have the power. We are so much stronger when we come together. It's your choice, so choose to be inspired. Choose to be accepting, be strong, be brave, be awesome, be daring, be kind. Choose kindness.
Thank you, Carrie Underwood, for telling it like it really is. And hey, if you're looking to do a real estate deal, give me a call. I know all the best families. I know all the best funds. Heck, I'm even becoming a fund myself. So if you've got a real estate transaction and it's complex, call me, direct message me, email me, reach out. Why? Because when you do, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
I am real excited. We're going to talk blockchain and real estate with real practitioners. They've got inventive ways to make sure your transaction is secure. We're going to talk all about today, but more importantly, all about tomorrow too. Hey, Mr. Mendoza, let's bring on our guests. Well, you got a lot of buttons to push there. We got Frank Walczak. Frank, did I get that right?
Yeah, it's actually Walczak, but
Walczak. Sorry, I'm Mr. Fried. It's okay. Patrick O'Meara. Is it O'Meara?
Yeah, you got it, brother.
Oh, all right. And Cliff is just watching from the background right now. So, he wants to call in and get connected. Cliff can connect too. But I wanted to just start and talk a little bit about, where you guys were coming from, your new firm, and what the new firm is doing. Because we've known each other for a while, but this is a new thing.
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for having us on. It's great to be with you. So we're about a 6-year-old company, right? So I should hold two hands up. And we are an operating system for data so that private assets, you can understand private assets more efficiently. And what do I mean by that, right? So every time you want to buy an office building in Midtown Manhattan or Lauderdale or Miami, in order to diligence that asset, what do you need to do? You need to look at a whole bunch of different metrics, right? You need to understand, the maintenance of mechanical systems, structural integrity, hazardous materials reports.
You're starting at all the stuff that I go to last. I want to know the rent roll. I want to know who the tenants are. I want to know the debt structure.
Absolutely, but those are first blush, right? You look at that and then you say, yep, that's it, I'm in. Then you dive deep. And the reality is, the rent roll, the rent rolls, the tenants, all that kind of stuff you want to understand. But let's imagine these are data-rich, low-frequency trading assets that, pieces of the capital stack might only trade once every couple of years, and the asset itself might trade never to every 3 to 20 years, right? And so the key is, how do we increase liquidity inside not just the capital stack, but the asset? And so if you're trading something that there's no entropy for, meaning Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's easy. You're buying one Bitcoin. If you're buying a share of IBM, it's also easy because there's a single source of truth, right? And you understand, and that's the Edgar database, right? You understand all the documents are there, you can trust them. But if you want to understand and trade in the capital stack of an office building, you need to understand the state of that building so you can price the building, so you can price the capital stack, right? Yeah. And what Inveniam does is the solution to private market assets trading more efficiently is not the world's largest database that you give your data over to, think CoStar, Reonomy, that they then charge you back for your own data, or they're sending investigators to scrape your data that you don't want people to know, you know what I mean, that they're selling to somebody else. But rather, going and credentialing the data at your place of rest, using Inveniam that as you create data, it's there. We've got a data room that there's no data in. It's just a directory with pointers back to your data systems, that every time a new piece of data is there, we use this thing called robotic process automation to credential the data. We use a cryptographic hash. We stick it in the payload of a block so that if you change it, we know instantaneously, right? And so what's going to happen is you're going to have a deal room that's evergreen, pointing back to there. And what happens is we can then push that data to a third party, Cushman & Wakefield, JLL, Deloitte, Houlihan Lokey, Mercer, ValueStrat, who can then value that asset monthly or quarterly, which then allows you to have price discovery so that when somebody does want to put a piece of their interest in the mezz debt, the senior debt, the equity, however many slices of the capital stack exist on that asset, there's price discovery not only on the asset that's been happening monthly or quarterly, but also we can get a fund administrator who will price that capital stack. What does that mean? Right now, the only really liquid market is CMBS, RMBS. And the reason is because they got such a big cushion of equity below it. And the reason they need that big cushion of equity below it for there to be liquidity is because of the lack of data. We're providing more data so that with that, you can have more precision, so you can have more trading and more liquidity in those other pieces of the capital stack, not just in CMBS. That was a really long answer.
That's okay. I understood it, believe it or not. And I have a question to ask you now. So in a traditional transaction, you've got the senior debt, you've got the mezz debt, maybe you've got pref equity, maybe you got the developer's equity. That's 4 pieces. Now, are you talking to me about splitting one of those pieces up and selling it on a discrete basis, a sub portion, creating, I guess, really liquidity and value from that?
Yeah. So, whether you're talking about, One World Trade Center that has 28 pieces of the capital stack, right? Or a building with 4 pieces, right? Whatever it is, typically each of those tranches are limited partnership agreements. And there's lots of LPs. Right?
Yeah.
And those LPs want to get in and out, and they can't most times, right? Unless they go to the GP and they find it out. And the only person who can really take them out is another LP in that space. So you're in there for the long term. And so what we're doing is we're saying we're the data structure that will feed the people who will tokenize each of those pieces so that when you want to do it, you can sell it. Go ahead.
Okay. Tokenized. Now you got everybody interested because you mentioned the word tokenize. Okay. Yeah. And everybody thinks of a little thing, or Melania Trump just tokenized something, or the art that they sold here got tokenized. What are we talking about when we're really talking about tokenized?
So a token is a blank piece of paper, but it's a digital piece of paper, right? So just like you have, when you go and do a deal and you structure a deal, it's a bunch of contracts, right? And how many closings have you been to that are physical settlements where you sign, you go to, 8 different places and you sign in 3 places? Do you know what I mean? All the different agreements, right? And what happened is those are legal agreements and you signed multiple copies of them. Well, if it was on a white piece of paper or a blue piece of paper, you don't care, right? But now let's go and say, but we're going to now keep this in a digital form that represents your certificate. It's a share certificate that has the ability to have things programmed into it like expense allocations, capital calls, distributions, waterfall calculation, etc. That's throwing information out that's fully auditable. And then all of those original documents can be attached. And that token is your access point to it. So it's a share certificate. It's an LP interest. It's an LLC unit. And all it is instead of getting a certificate, you're getting a token.
Oh, you just made the argument for the SEC on tokenization.
Right. And so we have the former commissioner of the SEC sitting on our board and has for the last several years, right? So he was the commissioner from 8 to 13. And everybody who says, I'm tokenizing something and it isn't a security, they're wrong. Yeah, they're wrong. Yes, we are in the business of tokenizing securities, right? We tokenize something that's already a security. We do regular way compliance, and we ensure compliance is evidenced on chain. People who say, oh, my smart contract is doing the compliance, that's where the SEC and FINRA says, no, because what about this? What about this? What about this? And so we say, no, we're not in that. Now, when that gets invented, we'll use it and we'll plug it in. But in the meantime, we do regular way compliance that's evidenced on chain.
Okay, so I'm really loving this. So really what make believe, I get a call. The call is from a family office. They need $3 million and they want to be in an office building. I go, now I have to just call my friend that owns the office building and go, you got a $3 million slug?
Right. Correct. Now, what I want to go to though is let's go a step back, right? Can we go before we talk about transactions, because transactions are the end. They're the tip of the spear. They're not the shaft of the spear, right? The thing that allows the tip of the spear to pierce and you close a trade is good data that's trusted, that you can review and you believe, and it's fully auditable. We deliver that, right? And the thing is, I go ahead. Can I say one more thing, or do you want to?
Yeah. This is great. I'm glad Frank went on mute.
Yeah. So the reality is high yield bonds, right? Every high yield bond is different. It's got different collateral, different security package, but they're illiquid assets, what are called level 3 assets, right? ASC 820, IFRS 13, FASB 157, illiquid assets. You have to reserve differently. You hold them on your balance sheet differently, right? They're illiquid. But when all the pension funds said, but there's so many of them trading, there's enough comparables, that even though the security package is different and the collateral is different, there's enough of a comparable, and they used ASC 815 to say this. They said they're really marketable alternatives. And FASB said, yes, well, you can do that. When that happened, high yield bonds grew 10x and trading grew 100x because people could hold it on their balance sheet differently. What we're doing is we're giving the third element needed for real estate to be held on your balance sheet differently. And it's the third element is observable inputs. That's what we deliver. Cushman and Wakefield delivers the comparable using ASC 815 and the sophisticated model. So the real play for tokenization today is valuation, better leverage, better carrying costs, regulatory relief for people who carry it, but also large owner operators who are holding real estate on their book at book minus accumulated depreciation. We're going to give them the ability to carry it at the real value, fair market value.
Take a deep breath, Pat. You're a man. You're the man. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come right back. And I have a question. All right. Hi, this is Jim Freed, and I've been a client of Warren Henry for 3 decades. I'm a member of the Warren Henry family, and it's amazing. I want to thank all my friends at Warren Henry for the great support they always give my wife and I, my whole family, and all my friends. Hey, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry. Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar up at 151st and Biscayne. Up in Gainesville, well, they sell Audi up there. Down in the Keys, they sell everything in Key West. What do all those cars have in common? Well, they're all great cars, and they come with the Warren Henry Advantage. That means you get a whole list of great services, including, well, shoot, if you lose your key, I love having this here. If you lose your key, it costs like $100 to replace them. They'll replace it for free. Scratch up your rims because you're not wanting to park in the middle of the street the way I always park. Close. I don't park in the middle of the street. I park close. I scratch my rims. They buff them up for me. Want to make sure you're getting the best price on your trade-in? They'll guarantee it. And hey, they'll give you 3 days to make sure you like your Warren Henry car once you buy it. And guess what? You will. Nobody ever returns those cars. They love them. So join me, my mom, my beautiful wife, Vivian, lots and lots of my friends. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price. Always the best service. Always Warren Henry.
This is Becca Carlson from Carlson Integrated. You know, a lot of our clients find that they can do anything, but not really everything. We are always excited to jump in and help. So whether you need another set of hands for a project or even comprehensive marketing management, our team of marketing mavens would love to have a conversation with you to see if we are the right fit. We do everything from logo and design work to email outreach and social media to writing and thought leadership. And here's a fun one. We are now offering our fabulous ebook of top 10 marketing tips on our website for free. So head over to carlsonintegrated.com and grab a copy today. And please always let us know how we can help. My email is Becca, that's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com. That's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com.
Rebecca and her team are great. They help me on all my deals. They've helped a number of my clients. If you need some marketing help, I highly recommend them. Give me a call if I can help you with your real estate deal. I know all kinds of folks, institutions, high net worth investors, family offices. It's getting more and more complicated out there. There's fewer and fewer intermediaries that really know what's going on. There's fewer and fewer people that control the real transactions you want to be involved with. You hear us talking about it right here, how it's going to get even more automated. So what do you do to make your transactions stand out and get the right attention? Well, you give me a call. I pair you up usually one phone call with the right debt equity source. In some cases, that's even me. So reach out, DM me, call me. You got the stuff there on the screen. Why? Because whenever you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we're here talking about blockchain and real estate. We're talking about how real estate transactions will be done in the future. We're here with Frank. Oh, I'm going to get it wrong again. Walczak. How was that, Frank? You could just nod. I could see you. And Patrick O'Meara. We call him Pat on the radio show. Pat, welcome back. I certainly hope you took a chill pill. My God, you're the fastest guy on radio.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're tremendous. Okay, so now we've tokenized the office building. We've made it so that people can get their information. We've made it more liquid. And you know where I'm going with this. Where's the marketplace?
So right now there is no market. We tokenized the first piece of debt in 2018. We did about $100 million of transactions, and no institutional buyer would take it in digital form. And we were saying, look, all it is the digital form connected to all the underlying documents that and they said, no, let's just physically settle. We just want to physically settle. We like the deal. We like the coupon. We like the credit. We want to do it, or we want the equity, but we couldn't get the trades cleared once we digitized them because they weren't ready to take custody of that. So the only people who did it were family offices who were already into crypto and kind of liked it. You know what I mean? And they said, we understand this is the way of the future. That were the very, very early adopters. And what we realized at that point was that the marketplaces were going to be the last thing. Right. And so we're working with some of the big global exchanges, 2 of the top 4, some of the big DeFi ones, where literally they're setting up bulletin boards that are going to exist for real estate. The obstacle for this has always been data provenance. How do I know that the data associated with this private asset is any good? Right. And so
your blockchain.
London Stock Exchange has had a single asset bulletin board exchange for 2 years. They have one asset on it. And the reason is they can't get the data hurdle is so big that it's not economic to participate, right? Only the biggest of the big buildings could participate. And what we're doing is we're automating the validation of data so that you can participate in people's exchanges like that. And now we think this year will be the year you'll start to see, because everything, our big institutional clients, all they're doing is they're using our software to get third-party marks on their assets quarterly with observable input so they can get better accounting treatments. Insurance companies, largest asset owners, funds. And their LPs, CalPERS, CalSTRS, et cetera, who want to allocate more to real estate because the bond market's yielding 0. They want to allocate more, but as a fiduciary, they need marks that are not coming from the GP. Right. And so for them to do that, we're delivering the software that they love that gets a third party mark from Cushman & Wakefield, JLL, Deloitte, Houlihan Lokey. And with that mark, they can allocate more into those funds. And so what happens is we're seeing lots of people tokenizing assets just for better accounting treatment. And then the secondary trading on exchanges is going to happen second half of this year beginning.
Wow. So what should people be doing right now?
Calling you to help with real estate deals in Florida and building out, understanding that literally the differentiation between good data and bad data is going to drive cap rate. You're going to have 2 buildings across the street from each other, same rent, same tenants. And if somebody needs to diligence the data themselves versus trusting the input, it's going to create a cap rate differential. So we're working with 2 of the largest. One is 2 of the largest asset owners in the world. One is one of the largest real estate owners in the world, And they're literally saying if they can't see the data real time, not using an intermediary, but they have direct access to the systems, the computerized maintenance and management systems of the building, where they can see IoT data directly, where they can be monitoring what's happening in the air quality data. If they can't see real-time data, they're not buying.
Okay, so my nephew, who's going to one of the big land-grant universities in the SEC, not Florida, said, Uncle Jim, I want to get into big data. Big data is everywhere. Everybody's talking about big data. And I said immediately, well, big data is all over real estate. Real estate generates incredible amounts of data points. They don't even know how to process it all yet. How about that one, Pat?
So I met with the CEO of valuation and appraisal globally for JLL last month. And in the meeting, he said, my tech people say you are going to transform how we do data. You know, I've spent tens of millions every year on this. Why are you different? And I said, we don't have better software. We have better architecture, right? Facebook monetizes the data you maintain for yourself. And I said, JLL it's a fool's errand for you to get your clients' data into your systems. You'll never win. Use our tools and help your clients perfect their own data, and then you help them market it for themselves. So that you, like your Facebook profile page, you're updating that all on your own. And I said, listen, use our tools where the client's updating the data for themselves. And in JLL, stop this fool's errand of trying to get all the data in your system, because you'll never win, right? Instead, give the tool to your client and say, here's how you perfect your data. And I can
send
tell
it to
you,
us.
And then we'll help you monetize it. We'll help
send
you
it to us.
Yes.
Okay, now I get it. Okay, I've had this call. Okay, I have lots of friends that are aggregators, but the real people that are what's going on now is people are buying the aggregators because they want to mine it with their software. So they'll buy the aggregation so they can mine it with their software. So I got to assume CoStar is going to go up for sale again.
So we want to kill CoStar. And by the way, and I don't mean to say that in a negative way.
No, you want to make it obsolete because soon everybody will be able to get that info off the marketplace.
They'll be able to trade their own data and monetize their own data and do comparative analytics from their data to others, because they're analytics marketplaces, not data marketplaces. The concept of a database with the amount of data being produced in the world today is obsolete. This is data 3.0 for Web 3.0. This is literally credentialing data at the edge, and you control your own data, right? Because the biggest of the big real estate firms give all their data to CoStar, and then they literally buy it back from them, right?
Yes.
And what we're doing is so CoStar's largest clients pay them 9 figures a year. That's a shocking number for their own data back. And what we're doing is we're saying, credential your own data, credential your client's data, and there'll be comparative analytics being created as you credential the data at the edge, because the database was the right incubation vehicle for how to utilize data. But databases don't belong in the center. They belong at the edge.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break as I wrap my hands around that diagram and ask him about it again after the break. I know Frank had a hard stop at 12:30, so this is where I go, hey, Frank, talk to you later. But I really appreciate your contribution to today's show. I wish you could put him up so everybody could see that smile. I can see it on like a little micro thing. He said, thank you, Frank. We'll get together. I can't wait to meet you in person. Mr. Mendoza, get rid of Frank, keep Pat, and let's rock and roll around the bend. It's all yours. All right, everybody, we'll be right back to that great discussion in just a minute. My head is exploding with all the new ideas. I'm so excited to have the second half with Pat and the team there. Now, remember, our number one sponsor here on Freedom Business for 13 years has been Warren Henry. I want to thank Larry, Samantha, Eric, I'm looking at their faces while I'm thanking them. And of course, Warren, I love them all. They're like family. Well, hey, we're part of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Wait, that comes later. So when you're looking to buy a car, you want to make sure you get every advantage. You really do. My wife, she's all excited. We're going to get our new car, like hopefully this weekend from Warren Henry. You want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry. Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audis. Those are so hot. Down in the Keys, they sell them all. I just love cars. Can you tell? What do they all have in common? Well, they're all great cars. They come with the Warren Henry advantage. What's the Warren Henry advantage, man? That's a long list of services. You feel like family the whole way through. You lose your key, those big fancy keys, they'll replace it. You scratch up your rims, they'll help you out. You want to make sure you're getting the best price, they'll guarantee it. And if you don't like your car, you can return it after 3 days. Guess what? Nobody returns those cars. They love them. So join me, lots and lots of my friends, my mom, and I'll stop right here, my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price. Always the best service. Always Warren Henry.
It's time to stop the hate and spread some love. You are beautiful, you're smart, you are awesome, and you never have to change for anybody. You have the voice and you have the power. We are so much stronger when we come together. It's your choice, so choose to be inspired. Choose to be accepting, be strong, be brave, be awesome, be daring, be kind. Choose kindness.
Welcome to Freedom Business. We're a safe space, so everybody's kind. Give me a call. Reach out, DM me. You can see right here from what we're doing on the show that I'm always on the cutting edge of real estate. Always. I know the new program before it hits town because I'm usually developing it for my clients myself. I'm doing it right now. Had the call at 11 o'clock, got the okay, got to get the okay from the fund behind us, and then we're going to roll. Doing more deals with family offices. One of my biggest clients is one of the biggest families in Florida. I do all kinds of real estate deals with entrepreneurs too. What do I usually do? I usually put them together. It's like a Rubik's Cube. You hear from Frank that it's no longer a matrix. It's multidimensional. So reach out to me. You got my phone number. You got my email. You can DM me. You can send me an email. Doesn't matter. Whenever you reach out to me, there's one thing that always happens. I make sure that it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
Well, we're here with Pat O'Mara. Pat helps firms tokenize their information for real estate transaction and is revolutionizing the real estate world. We've been talking about it using an office building for an example. It's more than office buildings in the world, Pat. Will this work on apartment buildings, shopping centers, industrial projects, residential lots, homes?
So any data-rich, low-frequency trading asset, we think that this will work on. So right now, Inveniam is focused on real estate, infrastructure assets, private credit, and private equity. But the reality is there needs to be some homogeneity in the asset class. So multifamily, CRE, light industrial, that's super easy, right? So there's a lot of value in this, right? When you're talking about an asset that has gaming, hotel, condo, it gets more exciting and you need more of the work done by the experts like Cushman & Wakefield, one of our partners, and who come in and we just feed them the data. They know the right data to ask. We don't. We're the guy who's the notary in the bank. We don't know if what you're saying is true. We're just saying you said it at this time. And then if you ever change that document, we know instantaneously that you've altered it. We're not saying what you're saying on the paper is true. We're just saying, here's the audit trail and you can't change it in the future, right? And what we're doing is we're delivering that audit were that provenance of the data into other people's tools just in time. And those are risk analytics tools, those are valuation tools, those are waterfall tools, and things like that. Does that make sense?
Yes. So what would you say to my friends that sit in the top chair of appraisal at the different national firms? How would you describe this to them? Is this going to make their life harder, easier, or different?
Completely different. So Cushman & Wakefield is no longer going to be a transactional appraiser. They're going to morph to be more like an S&P and a Moody's, because S&P and Moody's literally draw the lines on the highway that bond funds denominate themselves by. I'm investment grade. I'm this. I'm that. They denominate themselves. And
so that's a conflict for Cushman.
The fact that they own brokerage, the fact that they maintain buildings, the fact there's conflicts. And so what you have to do is you're going to start seeing them say, I'm a valuation agent for these assets, and I'm not going to broker them. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense, but I don't really see that happening. I don't see them drawing lines that their brokers are going to follow. So they're human beings and they're greedy. Forget it. That ain't going to happen. So instead, what you're going to have to do is that Cushman is going to get to a certain critical mass, then they're going to spin this off.
Correct. You know, every major firm in the world, JLL, CBRE, Cushman, they in the last 3 to 4 years have all been, especially in the last 2 years, reevaluating, do we want to be in valuation or valuation advisory? All of them said yes. Well, they all said yes. They all invested in it with technology. And what they're now realizing is they're not big enough to own as they are the space. And what we're doing is we're helping them grow it. And so we're helping them grow the frequency. Let me give you an example. We're dealing with one of the largest asset managers in the world. They're paying for an enormous number of buildings.
CalPERS, can't say.
But they're paying for an enormous number of buildings valuations, right? And what we're doing, it's a GP for somebody like CalPERS. And so what they're doing is they're literally bringing all this data using our system, and Cushman is willing to give them a long-term contract where the cost of the valuation is 20% of what they used to do for one. And so they'll do 12 valuations or 4 valuations for the same price or less than they used to give one, because their work of data collection is gone. And what they become is a knowledge worker.
Okay. I have Ph.D. level training in appraisal. I went to UF. I have a master's degree in real estate. So let's go at it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Appraisal isn't about data. That is easy. Appraisal is about interpretation of the data.
Right.
Who's
and we're
interpreting this data?
You, people like you. What we're doing is feeding you. So right now, Cushman & Wakefield says 85% of the time for an appraisal that they do is spent on data collection and data entry.
Verification.
Right. We remove that. So all the data is in Argus the day you pull up to it. So the first appraisal takes 120 to 150% of the time, right? Because you got to instrument it. The second appraisal takes 30% of the time that you used to do one. The second one's 5%. And from then on, you sit down at Argus, the data's in there, it's clickable, you see the source docs.
Yeah, that's great, but it's not effective in my world. And let me tell you why. Okay. And here's the other side of this. I have clients that have nuanced projects. One appraiser gives them a $20 million value. The other appraiser gives them a $15 million value. Same data, same real estate, 2 different guys. How do you account for that?
So there's 2 or 3 different things. So
this is, by the way, Pat, this is great. And thank you for leaning in and answering, because this is the real question.
Oh, it is. It is. And so the answer is, as there's more trades that are going to occur, because you're going to see things happening, you're going to see, right, you're going to see more data points, you're going to get more accurate. But the other thing is, as you know, to get a US PAP compliant appraisal, right, that a bank can lend off of, you have to walk the property. Do you know what I mean? And you have to walk the property. You need to see it. There's certain requirements that are there. So what you're going to do is you're going to have maybe, let's call it 4 US PAP compliant and 8 desktop appraisals happening. You're going to see more and more marks. You're going to see more lending. You're going to see more transactions. And with more data, you get better marks, right? You just do. And what we're going to see is when you start seeing dislocation in the market in price of assets, That's not dislocation that every asset suddenly became worth less. It's that a specific buyer needed liquidity at that moment when the market was dislocated. Think at the beginning of COVID, right? Where there was a whole bunch of people, they needed liquidity, they were getting crushed, they didn't know what they were going to do. And the only people who were buyers were people with cash on hand, who were vultures, who were buying it at pennies on the dollar. Did that mean every like asset was suddenly worth that price? No, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to have more data points to support that this is not the whole market just changed, but rather it's a dislocation of the market because of an external event. 9/11, the meltdown in 8 and 9, the COVID beginning. And as you have more data points, you can, as you hold assets on your book and your balance sheet, prove that it's a dislocation in the market, not you have to revalue your whole balance sheet. More data points equals better data.
You hiring an intern for the summer? I know where I'm going to send my nephew.
Come on, brother. We're in.
Woof. Hope you're watching, Simon. So let's take a step back for a second. Okay. We talked about the fact that you're already working with early adopters. We talked about the fact that you're working with some of the biggest data sources to create new data points and new data verticals. What's next?
Indices for real estate that are real. Because right now, the only indices you have for real estate are REITs, right? And REITs are not an active, they're what's called a dirty hedge. They're not an accurate representation of what's happening in the real estate. So you can, short New York and go long Miami, right? Or whatever you want to do. But you're just looking at what does this REIT have that happened to be for sale when they happen to have money. What we're doing is you're going to be able to build indices, and with those that are real based on a lot of data points coming from people like JLL with good observability, provability of the data points, so you can create an indices. Once you have indices, you're going to have derivatives, you're going to have ETFs, and what you're going to start seeing is people be able to say, I'm long Southwest industrial, and I'm short Northeast commercial, right? Or whatever it's going to be, right? I'm short New Jersey, luxury, etc. Now,
I'm short New Jersey shopping centers because it has that big 555 mall in it, for instance.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Not to put a mark, but we all know about that thing. That's why I said it. And it's big, so it can move stuff.
That's exactly right. And I will tell you, we're focused. This is the early days, right? We're 6 years into this, but we're still early days, very early days. And the reality is we're going to where there's a lot of homogeneity, light industrial, multifamily, CRE, the large stuff. Residential, we've been talking to a lot of different people, especially these single family REITs. But the problem is getting the marks on the data. We can't compete or even beat AVM. Do you know what I mean? Because the data specificity, the cost of collecting the data outweighs the benefit of that specificity. Does that make sense?
Well, I wouldn't say that if I was the CEO of Zillow.
Well, the
argument in the residential right now is that there's bad trades and bad AI-driven trades that are going on.
Yeah, but the thing, what you saw there was a pendulum swinging from all human to all machine, and what you realized is I needed a human plus the machine. Right.
All right. Stop right there. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back for the fourth quarter. I just wanted to really get you rocking. Pat, you're tremendous. Mr. Mendoza, rock the house. I love those videos. So all the deals that I do are in them. So where was I? Oh, thank you to Warren Henry. Thank you, everybody at Warren Henry. They've been our sponsors since 2013. I get all my cars there. I'm getting ready to go pick up my wife's new SUV. We're debating whether we want the color they have or if we want to wait a couple of weeks till they get in another color. Oh, the real decisions that we have to make in life that are so important. The most important decision I make about my car is where I get it and who I get it from. and who's going to service it afterwards. And that's why I'm so happy to be a member of the Warren Henry family. My service person, Maytal Stark, she makes sure everybody in my family feels really good and that they're not feel like they're getting taken, because they're not. They make sure everything's good for you over there. Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar, they're at 151st and Biscayne. Down in the Keys, they sell everything. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audis. That means they got you covered. All the cars are great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry Advantage, which is a great suite of services that you get that includes the fact that they'll make sure you can return your car in 3 days if you don't like it. Nobody returns their car because they love it. So join me, my mom, my wife. I forgot that part. My beautiful wife, Vivian. Lots and lots of my friends. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. See, I see Pat smiling back there. I got you, Pat. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry.
Hey, this is Becca Carlson from Carlson Integrated. You know, a lot of our clients find that they can do anything, but not really everything. We are always excited to jump in and help. So whether you need another set of hands for a project or even comprehensive marketing management, our team of marketing mavens would love to have a conversation with you to see if we are the right fit. We do everything from logo and design work to email outreach and social media to writing and thought leadership. And here's a fun one. We are now offering our fabulous ebook of top 10 marketing tips on our website for free. So head over to carlsonintegrated.com and grab a copy today. And please always let us know how we can help. My email is Becca, that's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com. That's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com.
Rebecca Carlson. You know, I should get the gift. I'm going to wear that next week. You know, she gave me a great gift for the holidays. One of them stocking caps. She didn't realize I live in Miami. You know, it's one of these really heavy. I guess I should. Maybe I give it. No, I'm going to keep mine. Sorry, Mendoza. You're not getting my Carlson Integrated hat. You're going to have to call her for yours if you didn't get one already. Where was I? Oh, call me or DM me or whatever you want to reach out to me, because as you can see by my interview with Pat, I talk to all the thought leaders. I surround myself with the experts. I listen to what they're saying, and I make sure that I'm on the frontier so that everybody's catching up. What does that help me with? Well, that helps me do everything. I have the best programs right when they come out. I even craft some of them myself with my investors, and we can give you great terms. Oh, great leverage, everything. So give me a call. Why? Because when you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
Hey, we're back. I hope you heard him. Hey, we're back with Pat O'Meara. Pat is just blowing my mind with the digitalization of real estate. Down here, we had Art Basel. Everybody was doing digital stuff. Everybody's doing their own city currency. Even gubernatorial candidates are talking about making the state of Florida a cryptocurrency haven. I don't know. God bless America, you know. But Pat, I have a real good question. A lot of my friends, they do real estate funds, and they raise these real estate funds, and people put money in there, and then they buy real estate deals, and then the money in the real estate fund is pretty illiquid for like 10 years. I'll bet you can change that, can't you?
Yeah, and the beginning of that changing is monthly marks, not by the GP, but by a third party or a series of third parties. So you're getting 2-3 marks a year, at least one a quarter in those funds from a third party, right? It used to be back in the 80s, right? Think about 40 Act funds or mutual funds. Those the manager used to both manage the money, custody the money, and administer the money. And then there was too much fraud. So what do people do? Today, if somebody's managing money and they said, I want to custody the money, everybody's red flags go up and they go, why are you doing that? We think in alternative assets in 3 to 5 years, if a GP says, I'm setting the marks on the asset, people's yellow flags are going to go up and say, why are you doing that instead of having a third party do it where the marks are there? Because you're the investor and the manager and the one who's supposed to be approving it. And if you also control the marks, that gets a little fishy. So if you get good marks and good data, banks are going to lend against it. You're going to be able to get in and out easier. And that's the beginning of it. That's the beginning of it.
So I'm an old man. I got my start. Well, you got a little of that going too. I got my start right when Ethan Penner did his first CMBS deals. And I saw it was a radical transformation. We had talked about it for a while, being able to invest, in little pieces, the deals and everything else. And then the RTC came, no one could finance it. He floated paper and bang. And you could actually listen to him on my show. I interviewed him about that. It was just a point in time and he was able to do it. A little later, he might not have been able to. A little bit earlier, he might not have been. Different show. The point is that it's the inflection point now for the token industry. You've got all these crypto things that are all over the place that are soon going to get extinguished by the SEC as securities, and you're preparing for that day, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. And we only deal in tokenized securities, things that are already securities. Everybody knows they're securities. They're either registered or they're exempt from registration. And then you have to prove that exemption, right? Whatever that is, right? And so what we're doing is we're facilitating better data attached to those securities, and they're certified instead of a piece of paper in a digital form so that they can trade. And when that digital instrument trades, all the data goes with it. Right? And the rights and the access to the data. So what we're doing is we're perfecting data, giving them provenance and an audit trail to that data that informs what is the value of your interest in that building specifically.
I got to tell you is that the last time I heard provenance, it was about a piece of artwork, and the legitimacy and debate over the provenance was like a bloodbath. So the fact that you're being able to digitize it and then show the track over time is going to eliminate so many problems, create incredible amounts of opportunity. And, I'm very excited about the whole thing. Pat, I want to give you one last bite at the apple to give me a summarization.
Sure. I'm going to design the summarization around what you just said, CMBS, right? Yeah. It used to be that when you deposited money with the bank, you had exposure to everything the bank owns, right? Yes. And then when CMBS or RMBS came, you only owned what was in that specific trust, right? We think that within 10 years, you're going to start seeing the CMBS, RMBS market, CDO, CLO market's going to completely change. And you're going to literally be able to say, I want this mortgage, this mortgage, this mortgage, and this mortgage in my trust. And you're going to hand create those. And when you can begin to understand those, you're going to start having, just like you have search engine optimization, and you're a cupcake shop in Kansas City, you can get on the front page of Google if you game the algorithm correctly. In real estate, you always build to match the last deal that you did because you knew that got taken out. But if you knew what the buyers wanted that moment, you would structure to that takeout. And you're going to have institutional buyers who are going to be putting out algorithms, hoovering up, sucking up pieces of senior mezz, the equity based on criteria that they want. And you're going to be able to say, hey, I know what PGIM wants. And that, instead of having to go through an intermediary where you got a broker who talks to them every day, who's saying to the guys at PGIM or Prudential, who is one of the largest real estate owners in the world, who's saying, what are you buying today? Yep. And so what we want to do is say, we're going to give better data that's going to equal the playing field on the data, so that it's going to not only allow more players in, but global allocators to move away from just the top 25 markets. They're going to be able to start allocating into MSA 26 to 150, right? Because right now, if you allocate into Topeka, the only thing you're helping is the local developer, because there's no secondary market for you, right?
Wow. Pat, that's tremendous. How do people get a hold of you or get information on your firm or get you to come over there and start digitizing their real estate? Yeah,
Inveniam.io. We have a conference in March in Miami. As you, Jim, know, we're good friends with the mayor. He was our attorney before he was the mayor of Miami. And he's been on our board for the last several years. We love him.
He's my friend too.
And by the way, the better he does, he's going to have more and more friends. And because he's killing.
The mayor is a very smart person, and I am watching from underneath and behind his exponential increase in both heft and in capacity. It's going to be really interesting to watch Francis as he continues to lift off. He's a very smart man.
He's the man. And so we have a conference in March in Miami. Come to that on Data 3.0 for Web 3.0. A big part of it, the former CEO of Cushman & Wakefield is going to be there. The current executive chairman of the board is going to be there. Their head of valuation and appraisal is going to be there. We've got CBRE, JLL. All these guys are going to be there. Apex, SS&C, they're all going to be there.
And let me put my 2 cents in. I looked at the conference. I was going to go to the conference. I read about the thing, before it all got pushed back a little bit, and I was all excited, but I didn't really understand it till just now. Didn't understand who the people were, why they were going, what they were talking about. I really understand it. I can't wait to go. I'm very excited about the whole thing, and I'm very excited about entering the future. And I want to thank you, Pat, and thanks to Cliff for bringing everybody here today. And thank you so much for this. If you don't mind, I'm going to wrap it up with a little charity thing I'm doing right now. You can stay on, Pat, because I think you kind of get a kick out of it. I want to remind everybody that I'm raising money for public education this month. For the next 2 weeks, I'm raising money on the Education Fund website on Freedom Business to help a special needs class. A week from Friday, I'm going to be teaching a special needs class about interview tips. First thing I'm going to teach them is they're in the room. The person wants to hire you. Just don't mess it up. I really think that's a very big tip for an interview. Then after that, the next class I'm going to teach is a bunch of AP baccalaureate students at Coral Park Elementary. I'm so excited about that too. I can't wait for their questions. Bottom line is that I'm involved in our community, and I would hope that you would be too. Now you're going to hear me end the show, and you'll see why. Hold on, I got my thing right here. This is such great stuff. I wrote this like a number of years ago, but I love it. Pat, you guys are included here. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Warren Henry Automotive, Creco AI, Turkel Brands, the Bergstrom Center for Real Estate Studies. Pat, I want you to speak at the UF Center for Real Estate Studies to the young people. Would you do that for me?
Absolutely.
High five. I'm mailing this to them, and I'm going to ask you to talk to my nephew about big data and real estate.
Come on, we need interns, brother.
All right. I want to thank our listeners. Without you guys and the ladies and people and everybody else, I wouldn't have a show. So thank you. Go to our Facebook page, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of them. I'm on everything. Join our community and give us feedback and comments. Tell us who you want to hear from. I know you want to hear more from Pat. You can Twitter is at Jim Fried, Fried on Business, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I got it everywhere at this point. And I want to thank Mr. Mendoza, and I want to thank Rebecca Carlson for doing that. If you missed today's show, it'll be up instantaneously from Mr. Mendoza. It'll also be up on freedombusiness.com. And remember, this is Jim Fried for Fried on Business. Look for us every week live on Wednesdays at 12, but we're always going with all this great content all the time. We'll be on next Wednesday live at noon. Why? Because I just love doing this. It's so tremendous. Remember, the person that wants to do something finds a way. This year's just for you and your team. I'm going to start again, Pat. The person that wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Mr. Mendoza, the rest is yours.